your judgment starts to get cloudy.
Yeah.
There's a whole raft of shit that goes wrong when you're tired.
Yeah,
and
then
it
that's when you can hurt yourself.
I was going to say, then it gets dangerous getting to and from work.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope, and it's important that you just look after your people.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a golden rule that if your managers just care, you're going to be well ahead of the person next door to you.
It's the same thing I've said 1,000 times, and I will continue to say for the rest of time. Just give a shit. Well, hello, TK.
Hello, Pete. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
Right. Yeah, really good, thanks. Ready to go.
Excellent. Today is
Night.
Tonight. Should be a name of a show.
I'll break your train of thought, didn't I?
just a touch. Spot the goldfish. No, I think there's a bit going on in the restaurant world at the moment, as there always is. It's a colourful.
Have you read Ben Shuri's book?
I mean, I have the book. I was given it for Christmas. I requested it for Christmas. I have not started reading it yet. So
thanks, Melissa.
So yeah.
Now she's stolen it.
Oh, has she?
Yeah.
So you finished it?
No, I'm a very shit reader, so
Okay.
I read like the first chapter and a half.
Yeah.
And now it's on her side of the bed. And I'm
Okay.
like, oh, she's like, she cannot put it down.
I actually have to put it in my bag because I go away every week for work, as you know. I should just go down there.
Audio book? Is it in audio?
No, I've got the hard copy.
That's what I got.
Old school.
Yeah.
I do this. I listen to audio book. I just listened to the Chairman's Lounge about Qantas.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Good.
man. Oh, so good.
There's one coming up. Well, it keeps coming up on my feed about Daniel Badeau's got one.
Oh really?
Audio book. Yeah, I'm going to get
Yeah,
that.
right.
Punch that ass.
We digress.
Sorry.
Which we tend to do. Sorry for
Got
everyone.
our Ritalin.
Which is there's a story there, but I won't tell it on this podcast. God, I'm so close to throwing someone's name out there because they would know what I was talking about, but I'm not going to do that because I'm just not. Let's talk about the dirty C word. Culture.
Oh, right. You had me there for a second.
I nearly said customer, but I was like, I know that's not right. No, I think that culture is a word that we use a lot, or we see get used a lot in.
Gets thrown around.
Yeah, in our industry and every industry for that matter.
I should put that pan down a bit harder.
Yeah, maybe they could actually put that pan through the stove rather than sitting it on the hob.
Throwing it from 6 feet away.
Wow.
You
Wow.
fuckwit.
There's a 800-litre stock pot.
Culture.
Culture of volume in the kitchen. No, I think that it is a word that does get thrown around a lot, and I think a lot of people maybe talk the talk, but maybe not so much walk the walk. There's lots of goings on this recently.
Isn't there? It seems like every week.
Yeah, there's something coming out about either a restaurant or a group that's got some challenges for different reasons.
Yep.
None of them good, I suppose. And without sort of, we don't need to mention names. People know, if you're
in the industry.
if you're in the industry or you have a look around, you can find these things out if you really want to. But it's not positive, I suppose. The thing for me is trying to work out, what does culture mean in a restaurant setting or in hospitality in general? And then we'll sort of break out some things from that, I suppose. And particularly I want to sort of talk about, and I'll ask you that. What does culture mean to you? What is in a business?
Mate, look, years ago when myself and Melissa, Mitch and Eliza, when we started Rice Boy up as our only business, we all sat down and said, it's really important to us that we are the very best employers we can possibly be. And I went one step further and said, I'd really want my legacy to be when somebody sees that somebody's worked for me, it really represents something and means something, right?
Okay, so there's a positive there.
Yeah, but as you grow, it gets harder and harder because you can't be everything to everybody, but you've got to try and instill those values of what you started with or what you believe in into your senior managers, and you've got to trust that will make its way down.
So you got to plant the seeds.
And that's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, I know Mitch, for example, he's got a very strict culture on no drinking during the day. Like, if you're at work, you're not going to break and have a couple of beers and then come back to work.
I agree with that.
He just does not do that.
Yeah.
And, mate, I've said to him, you're one of the owners of the business. Come and have a beer. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
And hats off to him. He's passionate about that, and that's really important to him.
Yeah.
And I suppose he grew up in an era not dissimilar to ours where, you had 2 hours to burn the arvo, go and smash 3 schooners and then
see
come
the
back to
pot
work.
off and see how many Stellas I can drink.
So, it's really, really hard to create that culture and to live and die by it. But, we try and provide a culture. Well, we would like to have a culture of caring and support here.
Yep.
Our people are of our family, and that gets thrown around a little bit too easy as well.
I'm going to make a comment on that.
But we like to try our very best to care about each and every one of our staff.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the critical thing. And I think that everyone gets it wrong in some way, shape or form at some point. We just do. We're all human. Mistakes happen, whatever it may be.
Yep.
I suppose it's like, what's your, and I'm not trying to justify anything, don't get me wrong, but one of the things, and the reason why I sort of pulled that face when you said family is that I think that, historically, some people, some venues, some employers have used that term because to get more out of someone. It's like, please stay behind. Come on, we're like a family. You do it for your family kind of thing. It's like, if I think about that, and this is years ago, someone said this to me once. I was like, holy shit, I didn't really think about it like that. But we are the worst people on the planet to our family. We treat our family often way worse than we'll treat anyone else.
Yep.
They cop the brunt of everything, right? Like you go home, you've had a shitty day. Your family's the one that unfortunately has to navigate that with you and whatever that looks like. And everyone's different in how they manage that. But I feel like it's been used as a term that excuses certain behaviour, which is generally, can you stay later? Can you do more than what's really we're paying you for? Those kind of things. So it's just trying to find that line. I think that the idea of family from a support network, and we're not here to, that we're not trying to do that. That's awesome if you can do it. It's just that really fine line where I think some people have, and a lot of people have, taken the piss with that, by using that term.
But I mean, for us, it starts with if you work 45 hours in a week, then you get paid overtime.
Yeah.
If you
wait, what?
Yeah. If you're sick, you get a sick day. If you're sick, we don't want you at work when you're sick. We want you to stay at home.
Yeah.
We are always asking people to plan holidays. We don't want you to bank a whole bunch of holidays up and not take a break.
Yeah.
We try and create a culture of it's important to us that you're fresh.
Yeah.
It's important to us that you're working for more than just money.
Yeah.
Because in my experience, and I've proven this time and time again, your salary makes up for a very, very small amount of the reason why you're going to work.
100%. And I firmly believe that it should.
Yeah.
If you're there just for the money, you're not there for the right reason. You're probably not going to be there for very long.
And you, like me, have taken jobs for money, and I bet you it's been short-lived. Every single time I've done it, it has been.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's, that we've spoken on a previous podcast about that idea of people setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's both ways.
Yep.
I think that's the thing as well. It's really interesting. I had one of our new team members on the Gold Coast reached out to me on a Friday night. It was late a couple of weeks ago. We just opened the restaurant. There was a bit going on, so I was like, just call me, whatever. The following week, we sort of sat down and I just said, okay, well, look, let's go through the weekend, what went wrong, what went right, all that kind of stuff. And she said, before we get started, can you just tell me what your boundaries are with communication? And I'm sitting there and I'm going, I've never had anyone ask me that question before in my life, ever. I'm historically have not been great with disconnecting from work, particularly in my own head, but often that also is a physical thing as well. So I've made a concerted effort these days. I don't have email on my phone, so it's not in my hand 24/7. I will check my computer over the weekend a couple of times just in case. But again, if someone really needs me, they've got my number. I will always answer my phone or come back to someone as quickly as I possibly can. But the fact that someone asked me what my sort of boundaries were around that makes me then go, okay, well then you clearly have boundaries around
Does your employer pay for your phone bill?
No. I don't think I've ever had that. Maybe when I was repping, I did. But it's my phone. I'm like, I'm happy to wear it because I want my
I've had people say to me, can you pay for my phone? I'm like, yep. But if I ring it, you have to answer it.
Yeah.
Zasha's the same as you, mate. We made that rule as soon as she started working for us. She doesn't have an email on her phone.
Yeah.
She doesn't check her email on the weekend.
Yeah.
She doesn't check her email after she knocks off from work. and there's a part of me that's so envious
Yeah.
of that, and she absolutely lives and dies by it. But if I was to phone her now, I know she'd answer.
Yeah.
Because she really fucking cares.
Yeah.
But she has mapped out what her title is,
and I think that's really important. And there's new laws in place around this as well.
Yeah,
there's no
100%.
contact rules are there.
But we've never taken the piss, and
that's
she
the thing.
always and there's been times where I need her on the weekend,
if you
and she'll
call her on
always
Saturday at 9 o'clock,
she'll
she
pick the phone
knows
up.
that
She'd
if you're
hit the
calling
fan.
her at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, something's happening.
She's not going, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, what's going on now? I've
Correct.
got to reprogram that till or something like that. It's like, no, the fucking place is on fire.
But Alan, our handyman, I mean, he gets calls all the time at night, and I said to him, unfortunately, you're going to have to try and manage your own time here. So do not work 8 hours every single day you're working. Make sure that you work a 7-hour day, or on a Tuesday go home after 6 hours. So then I've got some banked up. So if somebody phones you at 7 o'clock at night, or shoots you a text, you'll answer it. Or if you've got to duck in on a Saturday, you've got a couple of hours banked up.
Yeah.
But I always say to people, you've got to. It's exactly what you just said is so true. Those boundaries, set them up at the start.
Absolutely. If you can set them up at the start, it's a bit harder afterwards. But
yeah, it is.
There was also that thing where you just need to at some point in time. I think that idea of what that means from setting culture though is really strong, because it's like part of the culture is us believing that you need time off.
Correct.
I did the same thing this just last week or the week before with all of the Bev team across all the venues. It's like, when are your holidays this year?
Yep.
It's like, what do you mean? It's like, when are you having holidays? It's like, I haven't thought about it. It's like,
think about
it.
Top of the food chain.
Think about it right now. And for a couple of reasons. One, you want them fresh. Absolutely, you want them to go and have a break. And particularly in our industry, it's like, go out and find some new things that are exciting, whatever it may be. But it's also get rid of the liability of bloody annual leave that's sitting on your balance sheet. It's like, there's some, and restaurants are notoriously bad at it, where chefs in particular don't want to take the days off, All of a sudden they're sitting there and they've got 6,000 hours of annual leave, and you're like, holy shit, we've actually got to pay you for 3 years after you leave. So it's like, it's not quite that. Hopefully it's not that bad, but it can get pretty bad.
Yeah,
I certainly know a business that had over a year's leave with one person, and it's like, okay, they leave tomorrow. What happens? It's like, we just keep paying them. Like, can you afford to pay twice that? Because you got to get someone to replace them, and then pay that. It's like,
we pay as we. But mind you, we're different because we use a AWX Tribe.
Yeah.
So they invoice us for holiday pay, sick pay, annual.
So it's not a liability. It's just
in the bank. Saved us for when COVID happened.
Yeah. And with that, I suppose that's part of that idea of paying people, like you said before, about getting paid hourly. Obviously, there's annualized salaries now, and in our industry, a lot of people are using those. So where they will do the equation, whether it's weekly or monthly or whatever, and go, okay, you're going to go over, so we owe you a couple of bucks or whatever it may be. And I think that's something that is really, really important in our industry, particularly at that level of people coming into the industry full time for the first sort of time as well. Back in the days, and we'll talk about this as part of, I suppose, the reason for having this conversation is like what it used to be like. So,
which is, I get bored. I get really bored with that because
what it was.
Yeah, because we shouldn't some people, like when we spoke to Andy, there was a bit on there where we go, it felt like we survived it.
Yeah.
It's a badge of honor, and to me, I'm fucking ashamed of it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely things that
I treated people fucking terribly.
And I think we all saw things that were not great. I mean, people sort of, and I think a lot of people will reference Kitchen Confidential.
Yep.
And, sort of some of that sort of almost glamorized some of the goings on in kitchens in particular, particularly in the probably 70s, 80s and 90s.
Same as Gordon Ramsay does with
absolutely.
Kitchen Nightmares.
But then there's other things, where there's other stories out there. There's an incredible book called High Season, which is an Australian book about a certain restaurant in Byron Bay / hotel restaurant in the 90s, where I had friends that were working there at this time, and it's a tragedy. This actual story is an absolute tragedy, and I encourage people to read this book. High Season, it's called. But the stuff that used to happen, I suppose, has driven us to where we are now. And we're this kind of weird generation, I suppose, where we've got this sort of foot in both camps, where we've sort of seen that and gone, that's not okay. And we've either not done it or lent into it and done it, which a lot of people we know did do that.
Yep.
It's like you just sort of
It's
learn.
made so many people bitter and twisted about our industry. But
yeah.
I follow, and I'm a member of a lot of online chef forums, and it does drive me a bit crazy when these guys a lot of chefs just hook into their employers. And, you know, I can see why.
In what way?
But a lot about pay.
Okay.
But for me, I read it and I want to chime in and I hold back from it because I'm like, you've got to instead of going there and saying what can you pay me, like because I deserve $120,000 a year, and I've got no qualm that you probably should get paid 120 grand a year, but why don't you ask what the turnover of the business is to see if it can afford that?
Yeah.
Because I know that you want to work in a cafe and you want to work Monday to Friday and no nights. Maybe that's not the right job for you.
Yeah.
You know, or why don't you, if you think you are that good, why don't you take a job for 80 and say to them, if you hit the KPIs of food cost and labour costs, you got to pay me 150.
Yeah.
Because if you can hit them, if you can control your labour and you can control the food cost, you'll earn way more than what you want.
Absolutely, because the business is making money, and then you've just got to have owners that are happy to share that as well.
It's called putting your money where your mouth is, where the vast majority of the chefs who've got the biggest gob will go, no, I deserve what I deserve. And I don't doubt that. But sometimes you're looking for the wrong job.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good point. I think really the idea of what can the business afford? Because I want to be here for 5 years, not 5 minutes.
And if you want to get paid 150 grand, you go and manage the kitchens in a massive hotel, and you'll get that. If you're that good, you will irrefutably deserve it.
Yeah.
Or any number of great formal restaurants out there that are extremely busy, they'll pay that.
Yeah.
They'll pay you what you're worth. But you've got to make sure that you can back up what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because one thing we do here, we try and provide a great place for people to work, but we also hold people extremely accountable for what we're paying them to do. And we don't pay bonuses because your food cost is on budget and your labour cost is on budget.
That's just doing a job.
That's why I pay you every week. And I promise to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And I'll promise that if you don't hit those KPIs that you told me that you can do, there'll be a consequence to that.
Yeah.
And rarely have we ever had to have that conversation. Yeah. And frequently, there's bonuses or there's pay rises because you're doing it better than
overachieving.
You're doing it better than what I thought you could.
I saw
and we share that data like it is an open book policy with us.
Yeah, and I think that's critical as well.
I think it is too.
I think that's part of that. Again, this is all comes back to that culture of what does it mean, for the people in the restaurant. What are they looking for? Yep. Like these days, is it just money? I certainly know that some of the questions I'm getting asked currently about employment is about time off, about expectations around that, about how long I have to be in the venue in a week. They're the questions. The money's there. But everyone knows that in this right now, the money's pretty solid in terms of you get to a certain level, it's going to be roughly X. And I think that's probably almost a benefit, I think, at the moment of working in the industry is that there is still a shortage, right, of really good people. Certainly, at skilled level. I think the pool's pretty shallow from a wine perspective. It's always been shallow and continues to be. So it's like, what are they looking for from a culture point of view? So it's that idea of like, what do you need?
Yeah.
And I ask that question to all the team in Bev for me at least once a week. It's like, what do you need? Is there anything you need? And that isn't just necessarily like financial, or it could be I need an hour off to do this, or I need to go and do that, or can we look at some study this year? Or it's like, absolutely, let's look at it all, and again, let's justify it for the business. It makes sense.
Struggling with a bit of equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
We need new decanters because we've only got two, and I'm washing them constantly.
That's literally a conversation from 3 weeks ago. So
and
again,
something as small as that,
an investment of $200.
Wow.
I had one recently where someone couldn't. The only way they could access the point of sale, like the back office of point of sale, was to be sitting on a chair that was about 6 inches wide, about 4 inches from the screen, and typing away like a rat, trying to sort of fit on this thing. It's like, we can just give you remote access to that computer.
That's culture.
Right.
That's providing
the
tools that they need to do their job properly.
I can just get you remote access and you can sit at home and do it. And it's like, what?
What? Yeah.
And it's like, they're the kind of things where it's like, I did nothing there. That was really not that hard. But again, it's recognizing that that's a problem.
Yeah, but if you as a senior leader are walking around like this, you'll never see that.
No. And I also think that, I wasn't told that. I just happened to see it.
Yep.
And if I hadn't have seen that, we wouldn't have done anything about it. So that was a problem for us. So I think that that for me, it's like constant communication. I think that's part of culture.
Yep.
You can over communicate. Don't get me wrong. I think there's that fine line. And again, it's understanding that communication within boundaries.
We're going to a trade show in a couple of months, and the 100% objective to go to that trade show is to look at equipment to make our life easier and more efficient in the kitchen.
Because again, that means that those people are going to have a more enjoyable time at work.
Yep.
It's going to take the pressure in some way off. Therefore, that's a positive thing.
If my head chef here at Market Bistro starts doing 38 hours instead of 40 hours, that's such a win for me.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not talking about the saving and overtime, but it's...
I think the other thing is, and like, I know we don't want to sort of harp on the past, but you and I have both worked in places where we've done 80, 90, 100 hours a week and been paid for 40.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what we did. And I remember even when we opened here, and so, you know, Jen has worked in hospitality, but not full-time, so to speak, and not at sort of what we were doing here. And she's like, I don't understand why you're at work. Because, you know, again, we just opened this and it was pretty hectic and we were just jumping in and getting it done. And, you know, whether it was 6 days a week or 7 days a week, whatever it was, for a short period of time, don't get me wrong, she just couldn't comprehend it. Could not comprehend it. And it's just, for me, it's like, that's the only way.
Yeah.
It's not the only way. It was just the only way that I could see it doing the way that I wanted to do it. And it was 100% my fault, the fact that that's what I was doing, because I didn't have whatever in place to mean that I could take that time off at that point in time. So, but it is really, really critical. And again, we're just going through that at the moment at the Gold Coast, and it's like, everyone needs time off. When you open a restaurant, the first thing you need to do is plan for time off, because everyone's going to get absolutely, and we opened the week before Christmas. So we've gone from 0 to a gazillion in 2 seconds, with a big brand new venue that everyone wants to go to. And it's like, everyone needs a day off. We have to work out how to do this. And that was the critical thing for them, was making sure that the team had some time away from the venue to recharge, to not think about it or not think about it as much. But again, you still see people just wanting to do more and more hours. It's like you become less efficient at a certain time.
100%.
Yeah. And that, for most people, I don't think anyone past about 45 is being super efficient.
Yeah.
You just see the decline,
Yeah.
you know, whether it be an hour at the end of a day or whether it's an entire day at the end of a week.
And then your judgment starts to get cloudy.
Yeah.
There's a whole raft of shit that goes wrong when you're tired.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then
That's when you can hurt yourself.
I was going to say, then it gets dangerous getting to and from work.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope, and it's important that you just look after your people.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a golden rule that if your managers just care, you're going to be well ahead of the person next door to you.
It's the same thing I've said 1,000 times, and I will continue to say for the rest of time. Just give a shit.
Yep.
Just
Ask
care. Whether it's a customer or a fellow colleague or whatever it may be, just give a shit.
Yeah.
Because the second you don't is the second something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I always say to the guys, you know, if you're going to pour a glass of water, then just pour 6, walk around, give everybody a tin.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Give them a drink.
Not that
You're going to
hard.
make a coffee, make 3.
Yeah.
You know, that's just caring.
Yeah. I also think it's things like, you know, and you see it in little things. Like I always, that's sort of those last couple of weeks in December when it just goes to shit, you know, and everyone's just working way too much and everyone's tired. The bag of Allen's lollies that gets brought in, like we've talked about this before, but that bag of fucking snakes is going to get destroyed. And everyone's going to remember that TK brought in those snakes.
2 weeks ago,
saved
mate,
my life.
I remember Aiden did 48 hours in 4 days. We were well in the shit. And he adds those hours up because he doesn't take a break. He sits in here and watches YouTube and you know, just chills out. But the next morning,
physically here for that amount of time.
He was busted, right? And we do. Everyone does 4-day rosters, right? So
everyone in the kitchen's on a 4-day?
Yeah. And anyway, he said, "Oh, do you mind if we just go to Coles? I want to get some chewy and some Tic Tacs or something on the way in here." And it was like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Yeah, okay." So I went to Coles and they'd just put out cinnamon donuts.
Oof.
So I brought 2
Kryptonite.
boxes of cinnamon donuts, and it was like I'd given everybody a fucking $1,000 Christmas bonus.
Yeah.
They were like,
yes,
simple
things.
Coffee's up.
Yeah.
Everyone's dunking a donut.
Yeah.
Probably not great for the waistline, but
No, I had a rep bring me donuts the other day.
it's got pouring Sauvignon Blanc there.
He can do whatever he wants. You're walking with a 4-pack of Krispy Kreme. I'm yours.
You donut whore.
No, I actually shared them with the team. I didn't have any at all. Watching my figure,
Oh, yeah.
watching it expand. Yeah, I think
Let's say when you're dipping those chips in the Bernays
Yeah.
tonight.
was that Bernays. I thought that was cottage cheese. Yeah, I think, and I think a lot of culture does come back to some really simple things. Boundaries is a
Yep.
big part of it. I think paying people,
Yep.
to really pay them what they deserve, pay them what they're owed, make sure their super goes in. All the which sounds like really basic stuff, but is not basic in our
Isn't that
in our
like
game.
it just grates me.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I suppose, when there's, and this is probably more so talking about some recent sort of experience and we're sort of seeing in the industry, is if there's an issue, get on it.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't fuck around.
No.
Don't wait. Don't treat everything seriously. Doesn't matter what it is.
Are you talking like an allegation?
An allegation of something. Let's say there's something that happens at a Christmas party or just whatever. It doesn't matter where it is, but something happens. It has to be treated seriously and quickly, and the communication needs
just
to be
acknowledge
swift.
it.
Yeah,
It's noted, right?
absolutely. I think it's just so critical because it's like, we're just mucking around. It's like you can't just be mucking around. If someone takes something a certain way, it means they've taken a certain way.
And it's hard because you've got, like, in this restaurant now, I reckon there's probably 5 different nationalities of people. And just because you're coming from a
Culture.
different place, the
Yeah.
culture is so different.
Yeah.
Like, even the
That
way...
doesn't justify anything, though. It's
No,
just
not
that
at
they
all.
are different.
And one of the things that we have trouble with is we've got a couple of Italians that work for us, and because they're so passionate, when it's busy, they talk really direct, really
Short,
loud.
sharp, yeah.
And people think they're having a crack at them, where they're not.
Yeah.
And when you say you can't talk like that, they look at you and go, "What are you talking
Talk
about?"
like what? Yeah, exactly.
Because at the end of the night, they're like, "Oh, come out here, sit down."
Yeah.
And they're like, "You were just a fucking
Yeah.
asshole
An hour
to me.
ago, you called me
And
this
like-
and that and the other.
What are you talking about?"
But it's like that was
They
work.
legitimately have no idea.
The first restaurant I ever worked in was an Italian restaurant. Learned a lot of things, and one of them was exactly that something said in service doesn't count.
Yeah.
The second service
Yeah.
finishes, which is, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but for some reason, the ability for people to sort of just block it out and move on.
Yeah.
It's like in golf.
Yeah.
Dustin Johnson, I think it was either DJ or someone else said, someone asked him what the greatest skill in golf is, and it's like forgetting the last shot.
So true.
And it's like, I need to forget my last 100 shots. God, Saturday, I cannot play golf. Anyway, but that idea of, it's also, you can't, I know exactly what you mean, but there's that little bit of me that's like, saying it's okay because it was in service doesn't make it okay.
No, I'm not.
I know that's not what you're saying.
I'm not suggesting it is. I'm suggesting that what we have to do is try and educate the
Delivery.
our Italian guys about you've got to soften your approach up a little bit.
But I think that's really important, is that acknowledgement of understanding that things do happen in service. Let's get through it. I get that. As long as it doesn't push the line, I suppose. And when I say push the line, when we're talking about serious misconduct in venues, sexual assaults, people being given drugs and alcohol in service or encouraged to use certain rooms in restaurants, this kind of stuff. I'm just like, even me, weathered, old, haggard, bitter old man, is like, what the fuck are we talking about?
How that's even at all right.
That's what I mean.
Or how somebody can try and justify something like that. Well, I mean, I look at this restaurant now and I do feel like the old man of the ship. I've got a responsibility to each of these people, their parents, and some of them their kids, that they get home okay.
So a safe workplace.
Yeah. And that's my responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's why if something happens, I take it so personally, it's not even funny.
But you should.
Absolutely.
I'd be more concerned if you weren't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right, here's a question. Recently, I think it was a hatted restaurant in Victoria, lost their hat. So the Good Food Guide, Age Good Food Guide's taken that away from them and taken them out of the guide because of allegations of misconduct in the workplace or something in the workplace. I think it was bullying or something not great. Thoughts?
I don't care enough about the Good Food Guide, but the one thing I want to make very clear is that I don't condone anything relating to bullying in the workplace, sexual harassment. It's all garbage, and there's no place for it at all, right? And if my kids ever have that,
pity
So,
the person
but-
that's involved.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
I'm coming at you.
Yeah.
So I want to make that point first and foremost, but also I want to make it clear that an allegation is an allegation.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that they're right. And I think the Australian culture, unfortunately, is very quick to shoot off the hip.
Yep.
And I hope, because of what's happened, that they are right and they haven't.
They would have an obligation for due diligence at that
You would
point
think,
in time.
right?
You have to, right? I mean, just journalistic integrity.
And as a business owner, I hope that, because I've had, and it's never been anything serious like sexual harassment or workplace bullying or anything like that, but I had somebody call me a misogynist a couple of years ago.
A staff member?
No, a punter.
Oh, cool.
Because they were upstairs at Rice Boy and they'd only seen girls working, and they're like, you see the middle-aged overweight restaurant owner only employs young girls in bike pants. It's like, I haven't hired a fucking staff member at Rice Boy since we opened.
Yeah.
That's Eliza, who happens to be a young lady.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, and then you post that out into the universe and then post it on Google reviews. It's like, you want to be fucking careful, because that's so far from the truth.
Yeah.
So because I've experienced that, I go, oh, geez, I hope it's right. And if it is right, well, shame on them. And if the only thing they lose is a chef's hat, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should lose their business.
Yeah.
You know, because, again, if it was my kid, you know, I would take it. I would take it so personally. It wouldn't be funny. So, yeah, I don't know whether I've answered your question there.
No, I think you did. I think you probably answered it with your first statement, is that you don't really care about the Good Food Guide. I mean,
but also I think that they should be worried. I mean, get the fucking police involved, not the Good Food Guide.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because Jesus Christ.
Yeah, if there's serious allegations there, whatever it may be.
Fucking hell.
Like,
Who cares about your hats?
Yeah.
Like, if it's true, he should have a far greater problem than the Good Food Guide and his fucking hats.
Yeah. Do you think there's a bit of posturing, like from
What do you mean
potentially
by posturing?
from the Good Food Guide? And again, we don't know all of the facts here.
If you've read Ben Churi's book, then so they should.
Okay. I think that there's, are they trying to make a point, I suppose? And
Maybe.
What does that look like?
Yeah, maybe.
But it's already happened. They've already taken someone last year. I think someone else lost hats or lost
if the allegations are true, at least something. So kudos to them.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But if the allegations of sexual harassment, they're pretty serious.
Yeah.
They're like,
the thing is that that's a brush that just that's a permanent tarnish.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
You can't undo that.
No.
I wouldn't imagine. So, all right. So,
and it saddens me because our industry employs a lot of young people, and they should feel safe when they come to work.
Yeah. No, agreed, 100%. And I think the bulk of them do. I'd like to hope that the bulk of them do. Certainly
the people I mix with.
Yeah.
I maybe I just choose the people I hang around with a bit carefully, but
and I think we, like, certainly from our point of view, it's a massive part of we talk about it daily. With certainly from our HR perspective, and just everything, even the little things like payrolls, like making sure they get paid on time. That's not as easy as it looks every week as well. That's what people sort of don't understand. That that's a big thing.
Like the wage theft thing, that should be a different podcast altogether, because the people who want to throw shade over that, yes, there's some bad eggs out there in every industry, and they try and exploit people.
Yeah.
But that the hospitality award, whoever wrote that
is a moron.
Well, it's just fucking. And I employ anybody who's got a bone to pick about that. Just read it and understand that it's so hard to understand.
Yeah, yeah. Mistakes can happen really easily with that thing. And again, not justifying anything that's ever happened or anything like that. And I've got plenty of, there's people I know that have been taken for it. And again, one of them in particular, it's like that was just a genuine mistake.
Yep.
And they fixed it.
Yep.
They fixed it themselves.
But my suggestion is, why don't you make the stick bigger that you hit them with?
What can they do?
But simplify the award so it's idiot-proof.
Yeah, that's a big ask.
Well, I don't. Me personally, I don't think it is. I think have a Monday to Friday rate, have a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. rate.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So you got six different things. That's it.
Fuck.
Yeah. As opposed to the 43 or whatever it is now. I mean,
mate, there's even in the kitchen. your age and your experience determines what the award is.
Yeah. There's also there's lots of little what are they, like allowances and things that I guarantee a lot of people don't even know about, rather than paying and that kind of. It's like that's
Mate, just make the award easier and then make the stick bigger and
Yeah.
fucking flog them with it
Yeah.
if they step out of line.
Yeah. I also think that, some of the bigger names that in that sort of realm that have been sort of taken down, they're not even the ones that are really causing the problems. The problem's more so at the smaller establishments where no one's really looking at them.
And can I make a note on this, right? And this will be controversial.
Fuck, Corey, get the button out.
No, but you know what? As you know, my son Aiden's starting his full-time apprenticeship this Monday.
Yeah.
Starts full-time.
Here.
Yep. My advice to him, whether it be through his apprenticeship or when he finishes apprenticeship, is go and find the best restaurant in your mind that you think is the best restaurant and go and work there for free.
Yeah. For how long?
However long you can.
Yeah.
To gain as much knowledge as possible, because that is the only thing you can offer them.
Has he just done that for the last 4 months anyway?
No, he's been getting paid.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's paying for every second he works.
Oh, nice.
But that knowledge is the only thing that will drive your salary through the roof later on down the track.
Yeah.
I find it offensive that these people go. There's a bunch of them out there that go and work in X amount, only this many different establishments. So their knowledge is small. They haven't been exposed to making ice cream. They haven't been exposed to me making bread. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But then you demand $140,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you're responsible for training apprentices in the kitchen. Well,
do you have what's required?
It's like only ever working on Hyundai Getzers and then wanting a job as a diesel fitter in the mines.
Yeah.
And wondering why the diesel fitter in the mine gets paid $250.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's right and wrong, but if you really want to get paid well, then make sure that you've got an arsenal of knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, while you're young and you can afford to, go and work for free.
Yeah.
Go and work for free somewhere.
Yeah. Or, and again, some people are young and can't afford to still. You know, it's like a couple of hours here or there.
Go on your day off.
Your day off, those kind of things. And again, it's like, it's not about trying to get people to work for free.
No.
That's not what this is about. That's I think it's really, I'm like the intern thing, like we don't have to have that as much in this industry. No. Staging happens all over the place. So for those that don't know, staging.
We get asked frequently.
For people to stage.
Yes.
Yeah. So staging or a stagiaire is someone who goes and works in another venue
just
for free, just to learn, basically.
They shouldn't be on the roster, but
no. But like Noma, that was like 80% of their people were stagiaires. I think at one point in time they only had 11 employees and they had 100 people working there or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it was.
But Nick Blake, who worked for us, he staged at Noma when I went to Sydney.
Yeah.
Ask him if he thought he got ripped off.
Yeah, Ben Devlin. He ended up being employed because it's like his stage turned into employment. So I just
look at it and I go. You should when you're starting off in the industry and you don't have the knowledge, then you should be so hungry to find that knowledge. Now, I'm not saying everybody go and do that. If you're wanting my advice, I say you should.
Yeah.
Or read a book. Or
watch 4,000 YouTube videos.
There's so many ways you can improve your knowledge, but every single thing that you do, you should be trying to press your knowledge.
And I think that's sort of part of that understanding that all adds in. Like if someone's gone and done all that, they bring that into a kitchen, they can then share that knowledge as well, and that's again just leading back into culture. So
imagine being
a head chef that can teach us as opposed to just beat us with a stick.
Imagine being a young som here, first som job, and then they go down and they do a week at Attica.
Yeah.
Imagine what you would learn.
Yeah, no, it'd be mind blowing.
Fucking hell!
It's funny because it was obviously it's really like staging is super popular in kitchens.
Yep.
But it never really happened front of house. And I remember speaking to someone about it once. That was a big drop. Speaking to someone once about it, and they couldn't really explain it. But I don't know.
But my experience at Stokehouse is you really weren't allowed near the guests until you proved yourself. That's
kind of what I was going with.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of need to prove you're not a muppet, and I think so. There'd have to be some experience there somehow or other with that person. So, all right, it's a Mate, I reckon that's the start of probably a 400-part series.
I think we could go real deep.
I think also getting other people's opinions. Love to speak to some journos about it as well.
Yeah, send us a message. Any chefs or waiters out there, if you've had any problems or you want some questions answered in regards to that, because I think it's a great topic.
Absolutely. And there's lots of positive things that are happening within the industry, which we should talk about.
Any great ideas, let us know.
We'll listen. We're idiots, so we'll listen to good ideas.
Good topic. Well done.
Like, comment, and subscribe. We have to say that now, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Please do it.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.